So this is going to be a video about the update of Ashes of Creation. After I watch this video, I will watch the entire, not the entire, but I will skip through some of the actual original post and see what it is. All right, here we go.
Hey, what up, boys? So, no intro today because it is once again that time of the month where I actually have some content and don't need to pad out the video with my ballsack and She-Hulk level CGI. And besides, no need to pad when, as they promised, we received another banger of a live stream. Our topics today were, of course, the Cleric Showcase, the Day and Night Cycle, and Steven Sharif gameplay that makes me want to rip my ballsack off. And I'm excited to break all this down for you today in as concise and easy to digest way as possible. But before we get into that, our patrons and I would love for you to grab yourself a Coca-Cola, because after this live stream, it leaves us with just one more showcase to round off this year. And
all right, let's see it.
If today was anything to go by, I think next month is going to put our hype levels in some sort of state of copium overdose.
So basically, like, next month is going to be even better than it was this month. Invest right now, guys. Hype, let's go. Yep, sip that copium, let's do it.
Now, with all that bollocks out of the way, let's begin. Ciao.
お前はもう死んでいる。何?
You were already dead.
So as usual, we got our reminders to go through, which is fairly short this month as we actually have an extended 40-minute gameplay segment to look forward to. The cosmetic pack swap over, the content creator meme, the YouTube comment, but it's all very mild stuff that I'm not going to bore you with. Additionally, the studio update was all but forgotten about, so it seems we're not going to be hearing a peep from that for a while. They did want to give a shout out to their Extra Life live stream where they raised $77,000. This money will go towards their charity, treating over 32 million kids. Intrepid have hosted 5 Extra Life live streams now, and they happen every year around the same time. If you want to get involved with our community, the highlights for it are up here in the top corner, revealing some very interesting lore for what was shown in today's live stream, elaborating on the long-term implications for how the story of this world is laid out in the upcoming Alpha 2.
Cleric,
which brings us on to the main attraction.
What the fuck?
Now, as I mentioned, today's showcase is over 40 minutes of group gameplay, so I highly recommend you go check out the actual full 40-minute playthrough, because I simply cannot fit all the details into one 5-minute segment.
Oh my God.
Today we were blessed with Steven Sharif and 2 developers, Keenan and Trad. We saw the gameplay from Steven's perspective, showcasing some basic cleric spells and class mechanics on a female Vec, accompanied by Trad, acting as the group's front line on the fighter archetype, playing on the familiar Pyre male we've seen many times before, and finally, Keenan gracing us with some ranger gameplay on the female Empyrean.
So
the first thing you'll notice as this showcase begins is that we're in a whole new zone, the Alpine Forest, looking over the Riverlands, and there's a very good reason for that, because this showcase today came with some super interesting night cycle and exploration mechanics that we'll elaborate on later when they eventually show them off. We'll jump straight into the gameplay, as the bulk of this showcase was highlighting the group synergies between the classes and exploring this new zone.
What do you guys
think? As you can see on the hotbar, the cleric featured 4 spells: Chains of Restraint, an AoE damage over time with an added stagger effect, a basic AoE healing spell, a chain healing spell, and a single target heal which doubles up as a single target smite. The most interesting part of this cleric showcase was the reveal of its core class mechanic, Conviction, an additional class resource generated through some abilities use. It is consumed to increase the potency of other spells. This creates a very active, aggressive healing playstyle, which, as a monk main from World of Warcraft, is something I'm very excited about. An example of
fuck monks. Literally the most annoying class to fight against. They're just so fucking I hate them so much, man.
Conviction's working in action is from their cleansing wave ability, bouncing between more players depending on how much conviction they have. Additionally, we got a quick showcase of 2 new weapons today, the one-handed mason shield and the two-handed staff. Although there isn't much to talk about specifically with them in this video, we got some interesting information later in the live stream that we can use to create borderline pointless videos under the pretense of discussion and feedback for Intrepid.
Yeah, free content. I think the combat here is it's okay. I'm gonna actually go back and watch the original video and see exactly what's being said with this, because I don't know exactly how much of a final state this is in and how the collision is going to be.
When Steven and his team cleared the top of the overlook of zombies and skinwalkers, he sped up time to give us a nice look of their night cycle and constellation mechanic. As you can see, the nighttime looks absolutely fantastic, really showing off the skills Intrepid's art team have to wield Unreal Engine 5's power. It retains the massively multiplayer feel, whilst clearly indicating it's nighttime through subtle hue changes and ambience. As for these constellations, Steven confirmed they do have a lot of gameplay implications, and although only minor information was revealed during today's livestream, I get the feeling this is going to be a core gameplay mechanic people use to navigate this massively multiplayer world. And
so there's like constellations in the sky, and those constellations, I'm sure, will probably have some effect on druidic classes or something similar to that. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I'm curious to see what this is really going to be like. Whenever you hear something like that, it sounds very good. But like, what is the actual gameplay that it creates? That's what we're not sure about yet.
Massively,
I don't know
it
yet.
certainly is, as this whole graveyard zone is much larger than your average area in an MMORPG. Continuing to travel through the graveyard, we got a really good example of the class synergies working. The fighter set them up with a stagger effect, and Steven's chains of restraint stunned them, creating some really interesting teamwork-based gameplay. This is actually a mechanic that exists currently in Guild Wars 2, however, in a very primitive form compared to this. It appears once again Intrepid are building upon the base combat mechanics available in Guild Wars 2 to truly create a next generation hybrid combat system. Before continuing
I'm not sure how I feel about like fighting a lot of these mobs that are just out in the open world. Yeah, it looks scuffed. I think that there's one thing you can say is that as somebody who played the first alpha, like the non-NDA one, you guys can see the video of it, it does look a lot better than that.
The team sat and discussed the sitting and rest mechanics, asking for feedback on this particular system, which we will elaborate on in a future video. He also implied that there will be some items you could use alongside a campfire or bedding mechanic, so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw an expanded version of what New World introduced with their campfires. Deep into the graveyard, clearing multiple zones full of zombies.
I feel like people don't really use campfires in New World other than setting them as respawn points whenever they go into an elite area. Other than that, nobody uses campfires in New World.
Their search for other constellations, I want to bring attention to the sheer size of it. It's probably a good indication of how multiple groups can coexist inside a zone without needing to engage in aggressive PvP constantly. It feels like because the older style MMORPGs were so, well, old, they never took into account how to create open-world PvP that hosts zones large enough for players to coexist.
And this is always an issue. This was an issue in Classic WoW also, is that there was only a few respawn points for, like, important mobs. So if you wanted to farm those mobs, you had to be at one of those few spots. Whether this was like the Scarab thing, whether this was people farming for like the Benediction items or something like that. Yeah, like putting everybody in one spot and then making them fight over super limited resources all the time is just a recipe for PvP. Like this is just what's going to happen. So it's like that's kind of okay if you're dealing with high level items, but whenever this is something that you're dealing with all throughout the entire game, it can be very tiresome.
Steven and the team appear to be putting great care into. Approaching the bridge and taking another rest next to the river before heading across, they find, fight, and dispatch another new mob. the Grave Golem. Overall, this showcase was pretty damn impressive and very, very indicative of a typical old-school MMORPG adventure. They ended this segment with some notes and questions that I'll use now to pretty much outline the plans for the channel over the next 3 weeks. Before we conclude though, Unreal Engine 5.1, a topic we covered on the channel last week, so that's up in the top corner if you want to check out the details on that, was confirmed to be implemented into the development of Ashes of Creation and should be live by the end of January. Now, because the bulk of this segment was mostly talking about the gameplay,
I would say like the design on this character, and we'll talk about it more whenever, because like we'll watch the original one in 4K.
Mechanics, it was far too niche and vague, so I think I'll reserve these topics to elaborate in a video in a few days. However, before moving on, they did mention the balance during this segment, explaining that Alpha 2 and especially the pre-Alpha showcase isn't indicative of what the game's end balance will be, confirming Ashes of Creation is aiming to be on the higher end of difficulty, and it genuinely made my balls tingle to hear that. They rounded the—
I'm gonna be honest, like it's very hard for me to think that it's actually gonna be that hard to play the game. Most of these games are not that hard to do, okay? Like, you just have to know how to, like, what your rotation is, and that's about it.
Stream off with some concept art, starting off building upon what they showed last month with the basic weapons and how they progress as you level up. Very little details are known currently, but I have a feeling these particular weapons are possibly Empyrean or Cleric variants, so whether we'll see each of these base weapons eventually progress through specific aesthetics makes me very excited for the artisan progression in Ashes of Creation. Next, they showed off another Goblin variant, the Goblin Slaver, which was teased to encroach upon the human starting area in Alpha 2. Stephen continued to explain how these slavers—
I think they got the stomach there from Liver King.
depending on the state of the world, may be present in the starting zone, and instead of killing the player characters, they instead knock them out unconscious and force them to escape their prisons deep within their camps. A pretty interesting idea, and one that really oozes that old school sense of adventure where anything could happen if you let your guard down. They followed this up with the Zombie Scholar, a mage variant of the zombies that we saw during the showcase, and although they look great in terms of quality, sadly I can't really stall out this script for much longer talking about zombies. So let's move on to the Winternith, a very early creature and one that has heavy ties into the world mechanics of this game, as it's rumored the tears of the Winternith are used as this world's type of gunpowder. Pretty damn—
Well, that sounds pretty bad for those little stupid goat sheep things, huh? They're gonna be set up in farms, just getting farmed out, yeah. That's a sheep unicorn.
interesting, and it sends my mind into a spiral of wonder and excitement as to how a rare mythical creature that holds a rare material could be implemented into a massively multiplayer world. Finally, we got a pretty cool lore drop with this final cultist model. Stephen drew attention to his tattoos and posed the question, if we were one of the first people on Vera, where did these humanoids come from? Well, us as the player characters are actually coming into the world a few months after the first expeditions. So these humanoid bandits and cultists are part of them first expeditions who turned independent or pledged allegiance to more powerful entities already in—
Yeah, like, I think these guys look really fucking cool. What do you guys think? Yeah, this is like, that looks fucking badass.
Inhabiting the barren world of Vera, creatures like the Ancients. And that's pretty much everything from this month's livestream. Another really exciting one and well worth the slight delay. Now, as long as they don't delay the next one by a week, they never have done, so chances are low, we only have a 3-week wait until the next one. So I'll see you guys again for another breakdown in 3 weeks' time, whilst I pad out the rest of this month with pointless ramblings about clerics and healing.
I'm excited to see that.
I just got back from an 18-hour session farming boars and embers adrift. I swear, it's been 8 months and this game still hasn't shown more than 3 people on the screen.
And to that I say, if you think the game can't handle 2 people on the screen at once, then you're high on coke. opium.
Oh my fucking god. All right. So to be fair, that's actually so true. Let me link you guys the Narc video. That was pretty fucking funny. This will not age well? Yeah, it will. We already played the game, and it handled more players on the screen in the alpha than World of Warcraft can handle right now after 18 years. Like, it's objectively much better. You can go and watch the videos. Like, there's no secret to this or anything like that. You could just go and watch it. So this is the thing. I'll click through a little bit of this, but then after that, I want to watch the video about the Smash update too. Storm Rage is still laggy? Yeah, exactly. Okay, here we go. Alpha 2, Night and Day, and other heavenly things. We're going to click through this. I don't want to watch the full 40-minute video.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another stream in the world of Vera. I am joined by two absolutely awesome and stellar developers on Ashes of Creation with whom you have actually experienced a live stream with before. They are our glorious engineer, Keenan. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Happy to be here with you again. And then we also have one of our senior game designers, Mr. Trad. How you doing, Trad?
Hey, good to see everyone.
Hi.
Good to be back.
So we are in a new biome that actually I don't believe anyone's ever seen before.
So they've explicitly said that you can cut down all of the trees. So I'm assuming you can probably even cut down the really big tree here. Hopefully you can. That's very important.
Where are we? We are in this kind of looks a little bit like the Alpine Forest, but actually this is a part of the Riverlands. This is up near the Alpine Forest area. So you're going to see some western larks and eastern hemlocks. We're obviously at a bit of a higher elevation. If you look off to the east over there, you can see kind of where the starting area for the Aelan humans, the Kalar and the Valoon would start in Alpha 2. Down in the basins of the Riverlands.
I'm going to skip ahead to where they're moving around. I want to see this. So this is them traveling through the world.
Today, with the Cleric, Trad, we're going to be looking a little bit at the Cleric and some of the new weapons.
I think it looks great.
The mace and the staff, is that right?
That is correct.
Yeah, the lighting looks good. Everything looks good.
Two-handed staff and a one-handed mace shield. You'll also see 4 new spells that the Cleric will be casting. And I won't spoil too much on that. You'll see them as we start getting into combat here. But
that's a good thing. New World looks great.
Now, Keenan, you play a Cleric as a main in your MMOs, is that right?
Yeah, I typically play support.
And what is the most fun aspect of Cleric gameplay for you?
Yeah, that's because there is no fun aspect of Cleric gameplay. Clerics are for pussies and simps that just want to help other people get the real work done. That's just the truth. Everybody knows it. Let's go ahead. We're going to look at a little bit of the combat. Here we go.
And just ensuring that your resource management, as well as who your tanks are, who your fighters are. If a DPS gets out of position and starts taking a bunch of damage, they're ruining your mana management essentially, right?
Yeah, I think
so.
That's
it's a little bit of dependency on your party, as well as your own rotation.
Okay. Yeah, it's a very reactive play style that I like. A lot of the time when you're playing DPS, it's like a lot of things are kind of predetermined with your rotation and all that, and obviously there's reactive elements there that you're reacting to external variables and the encounters and such. But with clerics,
I'd say the textures don't really look super good. Like this helmet, it looks pretty much like it looks like something you'd see from Skyrim 10 years ago. Like, hopefully they'll be able to update the models now that they have Unreal 5. Like, everything else looks really high def and way better, so I assume that it's probably just a matter of time. It's like ESO, yeah.
Generally, not as much of a rotation. You're kind of responding every moment based on what's happening to your party.
By the way,
there's a lot of predictive opportunities as well, like making sure that you're in the right place at the right time.
right. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's dismount and see what we got up here. These look like some skinwalkers. What are these skinwalkers? Trad, you want to talk to us a little bit about them?
These are just
They're
one of
dogs,
your
and we're going to kill them.
basic fodder enemies. Like, they're not too
Yeah.
dangerous individually,
That's
but
simple.
in
Alright.
a pack they could be something to concern yourself with. So you don't want to pull too many at a time. But let's take them out and see what happens. Not too bad. Not too bad.
All right, we took some damage there.
I think a lot of the combat reminds me a good amount from New World. Obviously, it's very loud. What do you guys think? Sounds satisfying? I think that it's one of the things where whenever you're listening to the sounds just by yourself, it's more okay. But whenever there's a bunch of people around all casting their sound effects as well, it can become very chaotic and very loud. He lowers the volume after this? Okay.
A little bit of
West
damage
room.
there. That wasn't too
Yeah,
bad.
the
Let me
combat reminds me a
actually
bit
hold
like
on.
New
Let me adjust the master volume real quick.
Okay.
Audio. You guys are going to see some outstanding UI work that's necessary. I'm just going to pull down this a little bit.
That's appreciated.
There we go.
That there I thought looked pretty good.
All right. So that's still got some
Like
UI
fighting
work
that
to
one
do on the
NPC.
settings panel, but you get to see it in all of its
Yeah.
work in progress glory. So they did do a little bit of damage to you. And talk to us a little bit about... oh, wow. Those guys actually got a little bit beat up.
They got fucked up. And like being able to do really big pulls and AoE pulls is what's so important in games like this in order for them to be fun.
Yeah. Must be those buffs on
Audio
chains.
isn't positional yet.
Oh, yeah.
Let me know if you want me to turn it
I
down.
didn't actually even get to cast chains.
You got to cast it, it just didn't do too much.
yeah, exactly.
So one thing we were trying to set up there that we'll of course get to see a little bit more showcased in some of these tougher mobs inevitably coming up here is some class synergies. This particular one is where we demonstrate setting up a status effect.
I like the music and the ambience of the game. This is one of the things that I think New World is also S tier at, is creating a mood. Whenever you're out in the world in New World, it feels good. That is like really what matters. At the end of the day, does it feel good to be out in the world in the game? The answer to that is yes with Ashes of Creation.
Called Stagger. You'll see a floater text pop up. Here, I'll show you. Don't kill him.
I think the floating text, the way that text is displayed on the screen in general, gives me a very rudimentary vibe. Like, for example, like the way that WoW has like mob bars pop up, and like New World has like mob bars pop up. I think that it's very clean and it looks modern. Just like seeing the text over dog that says Skinwalker and then staggered next to it, I think that is so important for it to look good.
I'll hold back.
Actually, you won't see it on my screen, yeah, but basically it
Yeah,
sets up a
UI
status
improvements,
effect. You can
basically.
see it, a little bit of a VFX over his head, and then
The reason why a lot of people, by the way, have been so optimistic about Ashes of Creation is because the game is like, there are some people out there that will look at, because the combat does not look perfect right now. It certainly does not. I don't think it looks way better than it did, but I would still say, and I think everybody, the team that makes it would also say it's not ready yet. The reason why a lot of people are optimistic and are full of copium with this game is because the game gets a lot of the important things right. The philosophy of the game is what a lot of people want to see. Even though some of the systems, or sorry, some of the actual combat nuances are not good. Like what? Having an open, persistent world, having a world that changes through different things, having open PvP, having a massive ocean system, fighting for territory. All of these things are things that MMO players have wanted for a long time, and these systems for a lot of MMO players are more important than the nuts and bolts of combat. And that's why people are still very positive about the game, despite any sort of disappointment with combat. Does that make sense? How much do they pay you? Why would they pay me? I mean, they'll pay me by making a good game that I can make content out of. It would be directly against my best interest to make a bad game look good. Yeah, it's
As
just,
you see there,
common
Steven
sense.
followed up with chains that triggers a stun on any target under that effect.
Yeah, if it's a good game, I can make a bunch of content
Now,
out of it.
up here, I
want
believe,
it
is
to
an
be good.
observation area where I am going to speed up time. Now, we talked a little bit about showcasing kind of night and day.
Okay,
and
all right, here we go.
Up here, if we make it past some of these, this is like a cemetery, right?
Looks to be that way.
Oh yeah, these dogs are these poor dogs. I feel terrible about them.
I don't.
Oh, there's some zombies up here.
Okay, we got it coming.
Ooh, they're starting
Not
to
as
move
fast,
towards
I
me.
think that what's the fog on the ground here, I think that it might be a little bit too strong, and it comes off as if it's like blurriness. Maybe it's because of the video.
You can kite these a little.
Oh my god!
Never mind.
What the heck was that?
So much for kiting. Alright, get ready. See if you can drop a stun on them. Or is it on cooldown?
Nope, I got it.
Alright, nice.
Oh no, I accidentally canceled it. Oh god! Hold on, group heal. There we go.
One thing that's nice about New World combat is that whenever you hit one of these enemies with like a sword or something like that, it feels like you hit them. Like they'll stagger or they'll flinch or something like that. Hopefully
Okay,
they can
we're
add
doing
that
okay.
to where it actually feels like you're hitting the mobs.
I got you. I got you. Some of them popped out of the ground. Oh, I love the
Okay,
charge
they're dead.
effect. And it looks like they're... Oh my god, a dog came.
I think we're hitting respawns. We need to keep moving.
Oh god.
Want to pull them up this way?
Yep.
It's just beating the fuck out of
Now
that
you
dog.
notice my main heal actually can act as a...
up here is
damage.
I'm pretty sure they're gonna I'm pretty sure they're gonna show the night and day cycle.
If the enemy target is... if the target is an enemy. And actually, that can generate, as a mechanic for the cleric, some convictions. Tell me a little bit about convictions, Trad.
Sure, yeah. Conviction is a class resource we came up with for the cleric specifically.
Okay.
Certain abilities will generate it based on certain criteria. And as Steven was saying there, you can either use it to heal an ally, or you can use it to do damage.
This
to
is probably some pussy shit that McConnell's gonna play, I bet. Like, this is just in general. I feel like this is like McConnell gameplay.
enemy and generate conviction, which will then help you in the future heal for more. So kind of what Keenan was saying about predictive play being an element, not just reactive. That would be one of the predictive aspects of the cleric, just kind of setting yourself up so that when, things start looking a little rough, you've kind of prepared that.
Yeah,
in
you build up
advance by
energy.
not healing as much early on and paying off later.
Now, at this point, I think players are for the first time seeing one of the moons of Vera.
I think the skybox looks okay. I mean, some of these like weird reverse tornado type things in the distance, this doesn't really look super good. It just looks like two dicks rotating around each other. I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I don't think that's really what they were going for. So, like, yeah, fixing the skybox would be nice. I think, like, for example, in Dragonflight, the skyboxes are a massive improvement. It's sword fighting? Yeah, true.
And there are a few moons, actually, of Vera. But you guys are going to witness me speeding up
I really like whenever weather plays a big factor in games. One of the best things to me ever was whenever we would get fog maps in PUBG. Do you guys remember that? Like the super heavy fog maps where you could barely fucking see anything. It would completely change the way that you would play the game. And I hope that they have more things like that.
time, because day and night cycles in Ashes of Creation are actually over the course of a few hours between those night cycles. So you're going to see the trees move all real rapidly, and you're going to see the sun drop rapidly, and then you're going to see the night sky begin to form. And we're going to try to identify some constellations if we can, because constellations in Ashes of Creation actually have a very relevant purpose across a whole host of different game systems, including on the narrative side, on mechanics like acquiring certain types of relics for your node, on empowering certain abilities and or items that you have access to. And it is, of course, relevant that I am playing as a Vec. Vec, as many of you may know, do worship and obviously study the stars. So let me see if I can go ahead and speed up that time.
All right, let's see it.
Stand by.
I will also say that just the visuals right now look great. I saw somebody in chat actually brought this up, and I'm curious to hear what everybody else's opinion of this is. He said that the graphics look so much generic fantasy that it doesn't stand out at all. Like the art style, I think there's an element of truth to that, where the art style doesn't have a very distinctive flair to it that... So, for example, whenever you see something from World of Warcraft, you know it's from World of Warcraft. Whenever you see something from, I think Final Fantasy for sure, you know it's Final Fantasy, right? Because it's like a chainsaw with a sword on top of it that has a unicorn coming out of it, and the unicorn has chainsaws for legs. It's yeah, okay, this is a Final Fantasy boss. But other than that, I mean... many other games don't have as much of a distinctive art style. And I think that games that have, compared to a game like Elden Ring, having art style where it's very evident as soon as you see it what this game is, I think that's so important. When they all use the same engine, there's less need for creativity. Well, I do think that it's important to have creativity in the game and to have the different types of art stand out and to be a little bit more stylized. Not as much as WoW, but a little bit more.
There it goes.
Okay,
the
here
trees. We go. Look, I love it. It's kind of like Time Machine a little bit. Ooh.
Okay.
Oh, and the moon changed position.
The night skybox looks amazing. I love this night skybox. Looks very, very good.
It's now dead up, and we see another one of the moons. Now, of course, as you guys may know, this is, of course, a work in progress, right? We're working towards our Alpha 2. So some of this stuff will likely change, especially on the art side. But I love what the new skybox is doing.
It's the Death Star? Yeah,
true. I mean, it's just visually great. The ambience, of course, changes now to include a different nighttime feel to it. And the lighting actually in the night is not too bad. I mean, it gives you that kind of sense of darkness, but, it's not inhibiting your ability to play the game. Now, we are trying to look... we need each of us to kind of look in the sky in certain directions to identify one of these constellations. And I think what we are looking for... is what was once called a Bagormal, but now is called a Dawn Breaker, I believe. So try to look all around as you can. And
the moon does not... I don't like how the moon looks like it stands out too much from the sky. It looks artificial.
The night sky and identify the location of the Dawnbreaker.
Guys, I know it's not real. I know it's artificial. I know it's a video game. I fucking know that.
Where is the
You don't need to tell me.
I am not yet seeing it. Are any of you seeing it? I don't see...
Not spotting it.
They're looking for a
Can we
constellation.
not find the Dawnbreaker?
I'm assuming.
Maybe
Oh,
we'll
there
find
it is.
another
No,
one.
it lit. I bet it just lit up next to that red moon.
Where is it? Hold on. It should have told me where it
So
was.
I'm saying it's right there. See, look.
There we go. We found the Dawnbreaker.
So there's different
You guys,
constellations in the
oh,
game.
it's right next to the destroyed moon.
Look at that.
Oh, that'll help.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Oh, it looks so good. I love it. Now that's oh, it went away. Sad.
I think you have to
Sag.
look at it for a period of time. I don't know.
Now there is supposedly another
looks like it was.
constellation that is deeper into the cemetery if we want to progress that way. What do you guys think?
So you can only look at certain constellations whenever you're in certain points of the game. I don't know if that really makes a lot of sense though, right? Because like this is like my viewpoint on like how constellations could be used in an MMO. The constellations could be used, like, it doesn't make sense because like fundamentally the planet is in a certain spot. So I think if they're going to have like a season cycle, they should have the constellations rotate throughout the season cycle in the exact same way that they would, because this planet is probably rotating around some other larger planet, the same as Earth is revolving around the sun. You know, so like sometimes you have like one constellation up, sometimes there's another constellation up, and it just really depends on, and you can have, I think that it's okay to have like maybe you go up through like a very high tower, and at the very high tower has like a microscope, or not microscope, a fucking telescope, and you can look into the telescope and you can see like another constellation that's like very far away. But I don't know exactly how you can turn constellations into gameplay that doesn't become super formulaic, because the idea of constellations is like a ongoing thing that's like looking down on you. It's a really cool idea, but how does this translate into gameplay? Does it matter? Does it really matter that much? Absolutely, everything matters. Yeah, it's cool. That's why it matters, because it's cool. Gives you a buff, yeah.
Let's check it out.
Yeah, but
Do
wait,
it.
before we go, let me give us all just a group blessing. The three of us.
But
Sorry.
the world is flat.
I've got a buff beforehand. of
Let's
course.
do this.
Then why nobody ever fall off of it?
I think that'll wear off long before we get to use it.
Oh, yes.
Gotta conserve your mana.
I know.
Oops.
Well, I'm trying. Are we going...
Oh, tank and healer going different ways.
Uh-oh.
We gotta avoid the pulls. Yeah.
Those zombies.
I think I might have pulled one. There's
Uh-oh.
one coming over this direction.
Oh god, they're here.
Where? Where are
Right
you?
here, right here.
Oh,
Ah.
shit.
Okay. You guys take care of it.
The zombies will never catch us.
Nice.
Yeah, I think if you want to go with like a realistic approach to it, it's important to make sure that like whenever you see like the corpses of the mobs, they're actually laying flat on the ground rather than being like above. And like obviously this is alpha stuff, and so it makes sense that it's not like finalized. But yeah, it's important if you want to go for like, it should turn these things into effectively like ragdolls. When's this
Got that.
releasing?
Where
In
you at?
2033.
Yeah, it looks like we aggroed one. Here, let's just get this guy.
It might be a bit later than that, but somewhere around then.
Ooh, aggroed a lot more than
Yeah,
one.
it's pretty soon.
Oh my
Basically.
god!
Kick it off the cliff. Yeah, something.
Okay.
Let's tread
Okay.
carefully around these parts, apparently.
I'm doing okay, I think. Maybe I should take my staff out for this. Oh, you know, I haven't shown any active blocking yet. That's another thing I want.
I really think that they need to make sure that there are better nameplates in the game. Like, nameplates, in my opinion, really do make WoW a lot better. Like, being able to have, like, good nameplates that show you everything that you need to know about the NPC. Like, yeah, nameplates are really good. I think they're alright in New World, too. But, yeah, nameplates super mandatory. How fast do you think they can get this game to the same quality as the beta New World? I think it could already be there, but I don't really know yet. Because the game has a lot more systems than New World had. Like, I would say this game probably has 20 or 10 times more systems than New World that have, like, MMO functionality. And also, like, for example, in this game, you can swim. So that's already ahead of New World. And it's very hard to say, like, how can they get the entire game up to that point that New World got that narrow part of their game into? It's hard to say.
I wanted to show you guys is the active blocking. Are there creatures down here?
Yeah, there should be a pack down here, I think.
All right, let's take a look. What is this?
It's the graveyard.
Oh, it's a respawn point. A resurrection.
Different kind of graveyard.
Yeah.
I love this environment, and the fog on the ground is so.
Whoa, behind you.
Oh my god!
Oh, they come out of the ground.
Oh
That's
god!
cool.
I'll let you tank for a little bit.
All right,
Okay, so
I
there's
have my active blocks up.
Oh boy.
There's a lot. Okay, he doesn't seem to be doing much damage to me, but of course it would normally consume.
I think one thing that you need to have if you have like an action combat dodging and blocking system is that you need to make sure that the character attacks have very defined and very understandable hitboxes. You can't have your shield here and have the mob attack you here and then you block it, like for example. And I think that needs to go both ways also. So like if you're outside of an effect or outside of the reach of something's sword, you should not be getting hit by it. You really don't want to have a situation that's like Dark Souls 2, where you're outside of the animation of an effect or an attack swing, but you still take damage for it. That's a huge issue. That's what New World did right. New World does that right with most mobs.
Stamina, is that correct, Trent?
That depends. We're still kind of discussing our resource systems, but you know that is one thing that we could potentially explore.
I think that you pretty much need a stamina system. Like it's the same as you need a health and mana system in a way. Every other game uses stamina. The color of stamina is either green or it is like orangish brown. This has just already been defined. Video games have decided this. It's yellow. Yeah, it's yellow. Sure. Orange is brown. Yellow. It's fine. This is just how it is. Just have a stamina bar. Because if you don't have a stamina bar, being able to predict how much damage a mob does to you and then how long it's going to take until it breaks your guard, I don't find this to be like a fun level of mastery in the game. I don't think this would be fun. I think it would be annoying, especially for new players.
Oh, don't stand in that.
Oh no, what do those do? I know Doug and Chong were working on these zombies.
Yeah.
Using some of our new AI systems, right?
Don't stand in the green fire. Don't stand in the vomit.
Actually hurts a lot.
Let me see if I can generate some convictions.
Oh,
I have convictions!
I will say that it seems like it looks a lot more fun to play a warrior or a ranger than a cleric. And this is coming from somebody who always plays a warrior. So obviously I would think this, but yeah.
Oh, and now you can see because I have convictions, my cleansing wave actually bounced to an additional target. That's pretty awesome.
All three of us that time.
Yeah, that's nice.
That is very nice. All right, let's keep moving forward. Did I hit all three of you guys?
I think the environment right here, just like the open world environment, looks very good. It's definitely next gen.
I notice I have some conviction buff on my life bar right now.
Yeah, you hit one additional target for each stack you have.
Oh my god, you guys are hearing my Steam, I think.
People are just DMing them?
Apologies. I'm sorry.
Let me skip ahead a bit, okay?
Damage and creatures.
What do you guys think about this? Just like the look of it, I think the look of it is good. I like it. The ground fog is so bad? Yeah, of course, but that's pretty easy to fix.
So basically we're going to have different damage types, and certain damage types will be strong or weak against certain enemy types, so you'll have to be somewhat, smart about who you're bringing where, or what kind of abilities or specs. Obviously you'll be able to do the content, but you'll have an easier time with certain contents.
Yeah, I think that's the way a lot of games work. Like New World has this with like slashing, blunt damage. Elden Ring has this. Many games have like different damage types. Sure.
Using a certain spec over others. So
Target's moving all the
obviously
time. There's no different
going up
speeds,
against
etc.
undead, and as is natural, they're probably going to be a little weaker against your holy magic than
Yeah, this graveyard
Keenan's
thing looks really
nature,
cool.
Element, for example.
Wow, Keenan, you gonna let him talk to you about your nature like that?
Let me just see. So
I
there's
do
just
like
a bunch
the-
of the normal
I do
mobs. I'm
like
going to
the-
skip ahead a bit more.
I do.
Alright, I set them up for a stun. Nice.
Perfect. Now,
It's good that they're actually showing legitimate combat, like real actual combat situations, because I think that Ashes of Creation, almost everybody is in agreement of this. Ashes of Creation looks good. It looks good. The systems look promising. The main concern that I have is the combat. No, you guys don't think so? I don't know. I think the game looks good. Yeah, sure. I think the main concern that I have is the combat and how the game will feel to play. Like the day-to-day actual behavior of players. Like
talk
what
to
it
me a
looks
little bit
like.
about why that stun just happened.
I set it up with Whirlwind, and it applies the staggered effect, and Chains of Restraint will stun any targets under the staggered effect. So right now that's one particular synergy, but in the as the game continues to come together and you see more and more abilities, there will be all kinds of ways to set up that that outcome.
And it also depends on like how the game feels to play. I think a really good example of this is Dark and Darker. If you watch the gameplay of Dark and Darker, you would think the game was released in 1996. But whenever you play Dark and Darker, it feels really good. So I will wait and see how this actually feels to play, but combat does need to be perfect. Like, I think combat is the most important thing in a lot of these games. It looks good now, but when they implement Unreal 5.1, it should look much better and run faster doing it. Yeah, I know. I watched the video about that. I saw that. Okay, so we've seen a good amount of the combat. Let's move on.
Even more.
Oh, wait, what are they talking about?
Yeah, a lot of essentially the different combat mechanics that work between the different archetypes and classes rely on synergies in the progression of certain types of status effects, right?
That's correct.
Oh,
And
there's
this-
a range mob.
This, of course,
So, like, for example, like, he's talking about, like, kind of in... I know, like, some games have this where... I think Genshin has this where, like, you can freeze a mob and then, like, switch to fire damage and then do a lot of damage by shattering the freeze. I think that's kind of what he's getting at.
emphasizes the need for certain party compositions to exist so that players can make sure they utilize the strengths of their different types of status conditions. And the example we're showing here, obviously, is the progression of... Whoops, sorry. Is the progression of the staggered condition into the stunned. We might need to find a place to rest here.
Yeah, I need to move. Let's move
Let
forward
me skip ahead.
up this way.
Super slow, though. They put some type of plague debuff on
Okay,
me.
so this is, like, a little
Last
bit
time
of
we got
the
lost in
world
here.
here.
It was a rough time.
Now, remember, we're looking for a particular type of constellation. I believe the ancient
Yeah, again, the
scholars
world looks great.
of the
I'm
Vet
fine with
refer
this.
to it as the Great Sundal.
I'm going to skip ahead a bit more because this is just, like,
Whoops,
looking for
I totally
combat.
misfired that.
Rip.
Nobody look.
I also think that, like, having a bunch of mobs and having to clear through
we
that
rest-
many mobs in order to complete certain things, this will become exhausting for players. This will become very exhausting. So it's important to make sure that you can skip a good amount of the mobs where you're not just, like, constantly fighting the same trash pack 15 different times. Like, this is a problem that that New World has. And, like, New World, a lot of the very beginning expeditions you just had trash pack after trash pack after trash pack, and very few of them were dynamic enough to be different. It was just you would round everything up, AoE it down, do it again, and it would get tiresome. So hopefully they have more unique challenges in getting around and traversing the world, or you're able to skip most of these mobs if you choose to, which I think most people will choose to. And if everybody's just running through the mobs, why are they really there in the first place? It creates like a it's like a weird middle ground where like how do you make this meaningful while simultaneously also not making it like super boring to like farm through. So I don't know exactly how to do that. This isn't something I have a solution to. I'm just talking about it.
So we should probably move off to this.
Want it to be more difficult, not more grindy. Yeah, I think a lot of people want, this is, again, like, I think this. I think a lot of people want an MMO that functions a lot like Elden Ring, but it's open world MMO with a lot of other people. I think that's what a lot of players are looking for. So moving something in that general direction.
Where want to take a seat by the little
Kenan's
river
like,
over
nope, I'm gonna rest right
For
in the
Alpha
middle
2,
of the
combat's
road.
looking good. Yes, the combat
get
is
those
looking
kids
very
by the
good
river.
for it being an Alpha 2.
Nice little spot.
Yeah, it is a nice spot.
I don't
So-
trust the water.
Why?
Just
Nothing
admiring
bad
the
happens
rain.
in the water. It's just
No.
the
I'm going to
depths.
skip ahead a bit more.
I'm just trying to finish off this zombie first.
I'm on the
He's gonna
bridge.
regen.
So yeah, these are the
Alright, he's down.
the casters.
Oh no.
All right, let's get these two guys.
I do think that, and I hate using this word, but I think it's actually a good word. I do think that some of the mobs are missing a certain amount of flair. Like, there's a certain amount of flair that these mobs don't really quite have yet. Where, like, they don't stand out, charm, individuality. Like, it's like you see a mob in Elden Ring, and it's like, oh shit, right? Like, there's a mob. Like, yeah, it feels like very... Fuck, I just don't know how to say this. I'd have to write it down if we can get the best idea for it. It's like stylized, it looks cool, a brand. Yeah, exactly. It's static. Yeah, they're imposing, they look badass. I need to start playing Elden Ring again. Maybe I'll play a little bit of that later on today. I'm not sure yet. Anyway, let's keep going.
But as I was saying, the Tower of Carven event, that actually trickled out through the Riverlands because of the rivers. And the undead began to form around these rivers. But you'll learn more about that during the story arc. Ooh. That was a nice little...
Let's stun these scholars real quick. Oh, they're dead. Never mind.
Got him.
Picking them off.
Ranger's doing work.
So this is the boss, I guess. It's a
Something.
golem.
What is up there?
Again, I want to emphasize, I do think that as, like, for me, what would I do? I want to have nameplates up of my friendly enemies. Or, sorry, friendly players and of enemies. And I want those nameplates to tell me exactly what I need to know whenever I'm looking into them. Sorry, I have very bad verbal dyslexia. So if you ever notice, like, the syntax in a lot of my sentences is not accurate. It's like reversed or wrong.
It's like something different.
And some type of little golem. Oh god.
So,
Oh no.
Oh no 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 no. No no.
I like the way they
no.
look.
Oh, this
Like
guy's
this one, for example, I really like the way it looks. I think that adding a little bit more, a little bit more style to it would be good. But I think this one is very close to looking cool and unique. Rock Harambe, yeah.
Oh, I'm stunned.
Oh, he stunned me.
oh no.
What was
Spoke too
this?
soon.
Can we please, Steven, if you're watching, please, 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 if you're gonna have action combat that moves the character forward, please do not have large mobs that do frontal smash attacks that you can accidentally clip your character through the NPC that's doing the smash attack and get hit from the back from a frontal attack. Oh my fucking god, this happens in New World. It drives me insane. Please don't let this happen. It makes me so mad. Please.
Get out of here.
All right, we got more company.
Yes.
That guy
World
was-
They're
P2.
lagging behind a little bit.
Cannot challenge me. Walk in the light. Okay, they're challenging me slightly. There we go. We did it. We've done it. So the active block actually works with any weapon equipped, is that correct? Except for ranged?
So that's the same with a lot of other games where you can block with pretty much anything, but there's different levels of reduction that the block provides. It's like, for example, in Elden Ring, if you block usually with a tower shield, you have pretty much like 100% fizz reduction, but if you block with like a round shield, you have like 70%. Sure.
Yeah, you could active block. One thing that we're kind of toying around with the idea of is giving everybody a universal active block mechanic. In which case, you know, the shield version would probably be better, but you'd still be able to parry or whatnot with a two-handed weapon or even maybe dual wield.
Oh, that's
Okay.
pretty cool. We need to find this sandal. It's supposed to be kind of...
I'm going to skip ahead of it. I'll let him look around here.
Wait, maybe we need to go back a little bit.
But yeah, I do think that weather conditions being like an element of difficulty does actually make things like super interesting. I love that. I think that's really cool.
Respawn.
No, respawn. Hold on, let's go over this way.
Let's skip ahead.
I remember...
Oh, it's going to work. There we go.
Up, good. We're up here.
Okay. I think they're just trying to look for something. That's why I'm skipping ahead.
I might need some help up here, though.
I think you can just outrun them.
They are what they are.
This is such a typical MMO adventure.
So do you see kind of like what my concern is, though? Is like if you have an environment like this in a world like this, you don't want players to feel like they have to kill every trash mob because it takes too long. And you also don't want players to just ride through the entire thing directly to the last boss, because then it makes all of the trash mobs and their placement completely irrelevant. So, like, how do you make it worthwhile? In my opinion, I think the best middle ground is to have it to where you can skip almost all of it, but the mobs have, like, certain types of unique items that you want to farm. Like, for example, like in Western Plaguelands and WoW, you see most people that just run through and skip most of the mobs, but there are people that are farming them for gold or for other types of resources. Yeah, make them die fast? Yeah. Don't add days? Yeah, if you add days into the game that, like, makes people kill the mobs, I don't think that that makes the game better. I think that usually whenever you add a mechanic into the game that forces a player to interact with something that they would not normally interact with, this is not going to be met with any sort of favorability through a player base. Yeah, days is fucking
Getting
annoying.
lost in a dungeon area.
Healer body pulls.
Alright. There we go. We're good. I think so.
Weak mobs is terrible.
Oh, okay,
idea.
we made it out
depends.
here. I can see the stars again. So you guys can see that there are certain environments that will just prevent you from being able to look up into the
Yeah,
sky
it makes
for
sense.
some of
If
these
it's a misty
constellations.
graveyard, you shouldn't be able to see the
now
stars.
we're
Sure.
looking towards... Oh, wait, we're supposed to look towards that moon. Oh,
Oh, there it is.
I found it! We found the sandal! There it is!
Die.
Yes! Are you dying? Don't die.
It's a sandal. Oh, wait, what the
And there's
fuck?
the sandal, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh.
Well, I hope
Sandal.
that you
I was
all
thinking,
have
like, that's
enjoyed
a
this
cat
sneak
in
peek
WoW.
at one
I
of
thought it was gonna be
the
a cat.
areas in the Riverlands, and also some of the updates to the yeah. Let's take a seat. Let's take a seat. And also some of the updates to the cleric, as well as you can see there's some UI here between the icons and the mini map, as well as the targeting and party UI that we'd love your guys' feedback on.
But doing a showcase of running past mobs is such a bad idea. No, I think it's realistic. It's important to see what the game would actually play like. Because, like, again, like, Steven's played MMOs forever. Everybody that cares about Ashes of Creation is, like, a huge fucking nerd. Let's be honest. Pretty much everybody is, at least. At least everybody in my community that cares about it. Like, everybody's a fucking nerd. We know how this shit's gonna play out. We understand it. Like, let's just actually get into the game. You know, like, let's talk about how things are really gonna work here.
You also got to hear a little bit about the night and day cycle, see some of the updates to the mace and shield as well as the staff, and also learn a little bit more about undead and the energy types that occur and synergies especially between certain types of status conditions and effects that might exist in Ashes of Creations. With all of that being said, I would love to hear your guys' feedback on what you saw today. Make sure you guys go and visit the forums, our Twitter, our Reddit, comment in the YouTube videos. Give us what your thoughts are about what you saw today. As always, remember, this is a work in progress. We are working towards Alpha 2, but you get to see a little bit every step of the way each month. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Trad, Keenan, thank you for joining us. That was super fun, and I'm surprised we actually didn't die.
Same. It was fun. We did.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. Yep. We'll see you guys back on stream.
Yeah, I think that was decent. I'll link you guys the video if you want to watch the rest of it that I skipped over. But overall, I think the I was going to say conduit system. The constellation system is very interesting. And it's, again, like, there are a lot of systems that seem interesting, but it's like the actual gameplay of the system is much less interesting. So you just have to actually wait to see what it's like. Overall, I really like the way the game looks. I think visually the game looks extremely appealing. And obviously, the fidelity of the game is very high. However, I do think that people that are being critical, saying that the game doesn't have like a defined artistic style, I think that those people are right. I think that because it does not have a defined artistic style, it can look a little bit generic and forgettable. And that's something that they have to work on over time with just trying to make the game look better. And generic, yeah, it's not memorable, exactly. So everything has style, Genshin-like anime, Elden Ring is grotesque. I'm almost relieved by this high, clean realism style. I think that it's okay, and if they want to do that, go for it. But I do think that some of the mobs could be a little bit more stylized anyway, even in the context of them being realistic. And the idea of constellations, etc., all of this is fine. The combat, as I've said, as somebody who played the Alpha 1, I haven't played any of this version of the combat. This combat does look a lot better. I don't think that it looks good, but it looks a lot better. So hopefully they can add like a little bit more of a flinching or staggering mechanic whenever you're fighting these mobs, and just in general make the combat feel a little bit more visceral. I think that New World does a pretty good job at this, and I think obviously the best games that do a good job of it are Elden Ring and things like that. Looks amazing, but the style is very generic looking in my opinion. 10 spells, okay. I think that 10 spells is more than enough. Having like other spells and things that you can do situationally is totally fine. I think that, again, if you go to Elden Ring and you think about that, you are not casting a million different spells in Elden Ring. Now, obviously, it's not an MMO either, but I don't think that the amount of abilities that you can cast is directly correlated with the quality of combat. I think that you can have a game that has relatively minimal amounts of minimal amounts of different abilities that you can just use in different ways. For example, like back attacks, jumping attacks, rolling attacks, like kind of plunging attacks, things like that. All of these things should have a different functionality. New World has too few. Yeah, I think New World is definitely borderlining on that. You'll have approximately 35 abilities at the end. Okay, yeah, that seems decent enough. It makes Lost Ark fighting good. Yeah, Lost Ark is very good with combat. I think that's one of the best things about it. MOAs are a good example of a few attacks you can have still have good combat. Yeah, exactly. It's not like you need a million abilities for an MMO's combat to feel good. I think you just want to have those few abilities that you do have that are meaningful and actually impactful. So yeah, I mean, obviously, it's really great to see some legitimate like group gameplay and actually see what the combat is looking like. Because I think the combat is what's going to... The truth is, like, a lot of people, whenever this game eventually comes out, a lot of people are going to look at the way the game looks to play, and they will make a decision off of that. It's why Black Desert was successful. It's why Genshin Impact is successful. It's why WoW is successful. It's why New World was really hyped at the beginning, because the combat looked and felt good. So combat, in my opinion, is the most important thing that anything can have. It is the most important, I think.